Welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me early on this Sunday. It is March 30th, 2025. So thank you so much for being with me. We've got a lot of things to cover. First off, like Tariff Tuesday, which is actually Wednesday, but that didn't sound quite as good. We've also got Tesla Takedown Day, quote unquote Liberation Day, and many other things to cover. I'll do it in a rapid fashion and respect your time. So stick with us. We've got first off going over a bit of the markets and what happened on Friday. Now, there was a massive sell off again. We're in the extreme fair territory, sitting at 22. This kind of ran off a lot of retailers over the last Friday because markets were incredibly weak. Now, the driver was turmoil on all of these tariffs, but also increasing inflation, showing that it's not stopping. It's still a shock somehow to most people, but not us. And also, the bond market is getting flooded. Now, what's going on with this is that the bond market typically is a safe haven. So, a lot of money flowing out of the stock market and into the bond market, but also our favorite buyer, the Fed, is also stepping in there. Now, with all of this, we've got the relative strength of the dollar is still hovering above 104. The 10-year yield with all of the buying did come down. So it is now, as I do this, just dropped below 4.3. So a little bit weaker on Friday on all of this change. Now, cryptocurrencies also dropped with all of this stock weakness, but they are already beginning to recover. We've got a few things going on Monday. There is also, in particular, a lot of talk about a silver squeeze. So, if you've been stocking all of this time and you are watching the price of silver, you're probably quite happy. Now, stocks are on pace for the worst month since 2022, and they're talking about April bringing buying opportunities. I'm going to urge hesitation on this. Let it prove itself first. Don't be one of these retailers that are jumping back into this to provide liquidity for the larger companies and corporations to get out on your dime. Now, we did have the Dow close more than 700 points lower, and the S&P 500 so far on track for its worst quarter. This is all over. This is a significant drop. However, it is not the huge drop or quote unquote crash that they're kind of looking forward to. This is a correction. It is continuing. It's severe market weakness, but it is not uncontrollable, which is one of the ones that we're looking for, not forward to necessarily. It'll bring the larger opportunities, but what we're looking for, keeping an eye out, I think that's still a bit off. Now, the calendar a little bit forward. We're getting all of your typical reports. We're getting PMI on Tuesday, along with a little bit more heading into Wednesday. ADP employment is going to be a large one. We've got Fed governors speaking, and that is also the day that the tariffs actually take effect, if they're still in force at the time that day comes by. So unless there is negotiation ahead of it, which very likely there will be, in particular with Canada. We'll go over that in a bit. So Thursday, more jobless claims, PMI, and we're getting unemployment rates on Friday. Now, in my opinion, Friday is the day to watch for this unemployment report. And not coincidentally, right after this, we've got Fed Chairman Jerome Powell will also be speaking, as well as a couple of others. Now, if the market tends to try to go off the rails, they can manage it back with their forward outlook or some other Fed speak. So, looking a little bit at what happened, this was how the markets closed. Look for this. Some deep in the red with some of the larger tech companies. Also, as well, you can't see on here, but NVIDIA also had a bad day right here, 1.58. Microsoft more than 2, and Amazon at 4.29 down. So, with all of the tariffs, there's a lot of talk about basically stocking up on your appliances. Now, if you're already understanding what is coming, then they're fine with this. But they're talking about still affecting the price of some of these larger appliances, including refrigerators, toaster ovens, microwaves, air fryers, washing machines, and dryers. Although the last time tariffs came into effect, it was pretty much proven that inflation is wiping these out a lot more than these tariffs. So, on the underlying, I want to take a moment to hit on what is actually going on. The richest Americans have kept the economy booming. Now, what happens when they stop spending? Well, we're finding out because the stock market slide that has been happening is threatening what they're calling, we've been speaking about this, the wealth effect that has been a key driver for both the post pandemic expansion in the United States, but also globally. So, the United States consumer is the driver of not just local economy, but globally. That's why this tariff war is such a big deal. So, what is actually going on is that the lower incomes have felt this first. And we spoke about this before because this is pushing a two-tier society. Now, it appears that some of the higher end companies are beginning to feel the pinch because the upper income Americans are slowing or halting spending. Now, what is this doing? It's rippling out to the rest of the world. Now, we've got economists slashing Canada growth as the trade war strikes. But the reality is that these uh, price hikes and inflation have been going on silently in the background for some time now. If you live in Canada, you have been experiencing steadily increasing inflation, and this is a good portion of why now deflation could come in on the halt of this spending. We'll see what happens. We've got German public sector workers may get staggered wage increase. Now, again, I don't know how, but they're calling this an unexpected economic crisis in Germany. All of their production has been hit for some time. Their companies have been driven out trying to go to other countries to get less expensive labor and cut their costs. Has not worked to date. They are the driver of Europe. So look for more weakness in that sector. So as people stop spending, there is going to be the mother of disinflation. So they won't have to worry about fighting inflation because it's going to come down massively on its own. But the problem is they can control inflation to a point. They cannot control deflation. So that will be the one that hurts when everyone halts. That will become the credit phrase now. With this, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but also there are bright spots in different economies. Brazil is in a privileged position to withstand trade war in accordance with their finance minister. I agree. I think that Brazil is one of the up and coming economies. It is an emerging economy, and they've got a lot of, while they're weak at the moment, they've got a lot of resources that they can tap in order to bolster this. So, looking globally, not all things are the same. For the most part, it is the West and Western allies are getting affected with all of these tariff wars. Now, looking a little bit more deeply into this, in the United States, this is kind of a little bit more quiet story. They are talking about it, but from a different angle. The Social Security Office, it says it feels like they're being set up to fail. And the news is you're definitely being set up to fail. And the reason is they are going to require list of new documents, re-verification. This is know your customer on a massive scale. And all of this is pushing towards a central bank digital currency. Now, along paired with this, we've got the Internal Revenue Service, or the tax overlords, if you will, for the United States, also leveraging banking data. So they're saying it's for criminal investigations, but they have kind of pulled back the curtain and allowing the rest of the world to know that they've had access to citizen banking data for some time now, and they're just now uncovering this. So you've got the taxation authorities as well as the Social Security Administration, both forcing re-verification as well as acknowledgement of your banking data. So with this, we've got other news. Elon Musk has sold X, the chat company, to AI, the AI group. Now, this is brilliant. For $45 billion, consolidates. It also allows the artificial intelligence group to own all of the data, all of the chat, all of the conversations, and everything that is in X, which was formerly Twitter. So by owning this, they don't have to worry about purchasing or any other of these small inconveniences about privacy or anything else because they now own the company. So looking forward to what is all of this pointed towards is the same thing. So don't be mistaken about this. Going over to our kinetic wars, and another note of interest now, we've got Hexeth from the United States, and I've been talking about this for some time now, at least since last August when I got to witness this in person, saying the United States is upgrading Japan operations to a war-fighting command. So it's just bolstering them to be a massive kind of starting point, if you will, launch pad for the war from the east. So with this, United States, Japan, and Philippines are now having naval drills. They actually have been for some time in the South China Sea. And this is their way of keeping all of this in. But a little bit more about this coming out more and more. And I just want to make put this out there that the war with the East is escalating dramatically and very quietly background of the headlines. Now we did have Japan along with South Korea talking to China with trade. So this is much more complicated than just the surface allows. Now, the last thing I want to leave you with is something that will spur a bit of thought. This is NASA watching a huge growing anomaly in Earth's magnetic field. Now, this giant region that they're talking about is pretty much between South America and Southwest Africa. Now, there's something very similar to this that has gone on for some time, was nicknamed the Bermuda Triangle, but there's much more going on with this. Not going to bring up a lot of it in detail here. We can discuss a little bit more in the Discord, or if you have questions, leave it in a comment. I would love to hear from you about this. And until I see you again, my friends, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And until then, stay free.